In this video, I'm going to show you the most asked Best Western interview questions at their hotels and show you how you can ace the interview and get hired at Best Western. So let's start with an extremely important question that they're going to be very interested in the answer to, and that is, what is your availability to work at Best Western? And the more availability you can show, the better. So the way you go about answering this is first think about meeting the hotel's needs. If you owned a hotel, what would you want people to say? That is what you need to focus on saying. You have to say what they want to hear. And what they want to hear is lots of availability. So you really want to make this job high up your priorities list and show as much availability as you can. The next thing they want is you to be flexible and open minded. So if they ask about certain times, they would rather have someone that is open to those times and can work around other commitments than someone who says no to everything. And really, to be successful, you want to say yes as much as possible. If they ask you about a specific time, and you say no to that, you have to remember they asked about that time for a reason. They've probably got those times in mind, which is why they asked about it. So let's look at some phrases that you can take to your interview to help answer this question. And you need to pick as many of these as match your current situation. So one thing you should always try and say is, I have very good availability, which is really what they want you to say. You could say, if you've got extremely open availability, that I would be open to working a rota around any times the hotel is open, and really leave it up to the hotel to schedule that. If you're extremely open-minded, that really is one of the best answers. You could say, I can work a mixture of weekdays and weekends. Remember, the hotel is going to be open continuously and is more busy at the weekend quite often, depending on its location. So it may be that more staff actually work in the weekend. So if you say no to weekend working, that could be a problem for the hotel. You could say, I can work around the business's needs. And you could say, I can work all of the hours on the job advert. So if you have slightly restricted availability, but they have given the specific times they're looking for on an advertisement, you can say, I can work those times, because they've advertised it for a reason that way. Really, to be successful, you want to focus on what you can do. Don't go into detail about what you can't do. You don't want to bring up reasons why they shouldn't hire you. And you want to be really positive and really happy in answering this, and very open in your body language. And so that's how you're successful in this question. The next one you want to really prepare for is, what do you know about Best Western? And if you go to your interview unprepared, not knowing about the company, that's really going to go down badly. So to be successful, you need to make a good impression, and to do this, you have to know the facts. And to help you do that, I've prepared all of the facts that you will need to take to your interview to really succeed in this question. So the first thing you have to do in answering this is make sure you cover the basics. Show that you know the basics of the company. Then for a Best Western interview, you want to be accurate. Best Western is not like other hotel brands that you've heard of. It's a little bit unique, and you need to be accurate about how it is unique. The other thing they want is someone that's knowledgeable. They would rather hire someone that's actually done some preparation than someone who just tries and makes everything up on the day and says really basic things that anyone would really know about the company. So let's look at the facts that you should take to your interview. And the first thing you do is describe Best Western as a membership organization. It's maybe a strange way to talk about it, and many people at the interview won't talk about it this way, but this really is what Best Western is. It is a group of people that own Best Western locations, and they have clubbed together to form a big organization that runs the Best Western brand. So the hotel you're applying to will not be owned by Best Western. It will be owned by an individual or a company that works with Best Western to basically license that brand, and they pay into a central pot that manages the brand. It is really a sort of franchise system. So that's the other thing you say. It's a membership organization that provides a franchise system. It emphasizes quality and consistency. This is really why people want to be involved with Best Western, and they want that on their hotel, because people know what to expect in a Best Western. If you stay in a Best Western in one city and then you go to the other end of the country and you stay in another one, you know that you're going to get a basic level and a basic set of expectations. Whereas if you go to lots of independents, you don't have that same consistency. That's why the hotels brand it that way. And Best Western has a good reputation for providing a good quality and good consistency. Strangely, they had a vote to change this, but it didn't succeed. Currently, Best Western is organized as a non-profit. That doesn't mean the hotel isn't making money. The hotel is probably making a lot of money. But the Best Western itself, the membership organization, is run for the benefit of its member hotels and itself is a non-profit. This is what makes Best Western so different to a lot of other hotel chains. It was originally founded in 1946 by M.K. Gurton. So you need to know that name and you need to know that date. So I'd memorize that. And it really came from a referral system. So hotels, if you go a long time back, even 1946, that kind of time, people didn't go online. They didn't go on the internet and find what hotel they're going to. So if someone was traveling across country, they would need to book a hotel at the next stop or for a few days later when they reach the city that they're intending. And so the hotel would have a system of knowing who they were going to refer to. So hotels would have deals between each other that if you have a guest that is traveling from here to our location, could you refer them to us? And if someone's going the opposite direction, I'll refer them to you. So that really was the birth of Best Western as a referral system. And they formalized that with the Best Western branding. It originally started as a motel chain and at one point became the largest chain in the US. The West comes from the fact that they were all west of the Mississippi River. Now, you can obviously see a problem with this. As it expanded, it obviously started moving east of the Mississippi River, and so they developed a brand called Best Eastern. That brand did not survive, and they got rid of it and rebranded all the Best Easterns as Best Westerns. So it originally came from the fact they were in the West, but that's been dropped as the company has got much, much larger. And so it's a good fact to talk about in your interview that there was Best Easterns, but that was dropped in favor of Best Western. They have expanded internationally, so they're not just in the United States, they're in many, many different countries, and they have also acquired other brands, so they own World Hotels and SureStay. And so these are some facts that you can definitely take to your interview. Another top tip is I would look up and just Google the All About Best Western, and you can find a page on their website that goes through this history and a lot of great facts about the company that's kept up to date. And you can take that knowledge and reading to your interview and say that that is something that you've read. Feel free to screenshot this or write down any notes from it and take these facts to your interview and talk about it in the way that I have, and you'll impress them with above average knowledge, and that will really help you to be successful. So let's move on and look at another question, which is, do you work well under pressure? And this really is a very simple question to answer, as long as you say what they're actually wanting you to say and you're ticking the right boxes. So the first thing you obviously say is, yes, I do work well under pressure. If you say no, that's going to be a terrible answer. So you've got to say yes. The next thing you do is you explain that this is something that is part of the job and something you expect, and you're confident when you say it. So you say, at Best Western, I expect to work under pressure. It's going to be part of the job, and you're relaxed about that. And that is something that you've accepted and you're confident about. The next thing you do to be successful is you want to link it to past experience. Show them that you've worked under pressure in the past. Talk about previous jobs that you've had and where you've had to work under pressure, and give them a few examples and show them that you've done this before and this is something that you're confident in doing. The next thing you emphasize is that you're going to remain calm when you're under pressure, because that's what they want you to say. And then you say what you're going to do about it. You're going to prioritize and you're going to manage your time effectively to deal with that pressure. And then to round off your answer, the simple thing you say is that you always deliver great guest experience, and that is at the heart of everything you do. And regardless of the fact that the staff in the hotel are under pressure, it's your job to ensure that guests have a great experience and that that pressure doesn't affect the guests in any negative way. The other tip that I would give you is to have a successful example ready, because sometimes Best Western asks this in a different way, where they say, can you give me an example of a time when you've worked under pressure? So have an example from somewhere in your life, ideally your professional life with your previous jobs, of where you have worked under pressure, but you have succeeded. And that is how you ace this question. The next one I want to talk about is how soon can you start? You need to have an answer for this ready, and there really is two options. So one option would be, I would be available to start at Best Western at your earliest convenience. So if you've got no restrictions on your availability, that's the answer that you can give. You don't want to talk about delaying your start date to go on holiday or to have lots of other commitments. That's quite negative. You want to try and be available as soon as possible. Otherwise, if you've got restrictions, but because you've got a job, you would say, I would be available to start immediately after completing my notice period, which is. So you may have to work for your current employer for so many weeks or so many days or a certain period of time before you can move to this job. So you tell them your notice period so they know exactly what to expect. And that is perfectly standard and something that should not be a problem at all. So pick the best one of these, and that's how you answer it. The next question I want to look at is how would you manage a difficult guest? And this is really simple to answer if you follow the right process. I'm going to plan for you a really great answer that covers the things that they want to hear. So the first thing you're very clear about and you go straight in with is that I deliver consistent, excellent service to all guests. So they've said, here is this horrible guest that's going to be a real pain. And you're straight in there saying that doesn't matter. I deliver great service to everyone. I'm a representative of the Best Western brand, so I have to deliver great customer service and maintain the brand's strengths. The next thing you say is that you're always polite and you're always professional. So if someone is being quite unpleasant, you're not being horrible back. You're not going to shout at them. You're not going to be unprofessional. You're wearing a uniform representing the brand and you're conscious of that. The next thing you say is that I would always follow Best Western's policies. So if someone is being difficult and demanding something that they're not entitled to, then you can't just give it to them. You're going to have to follow the correct policies in a compassionate and transparent and open way. And you're going to do the best for the customer at all times, but you're mindful of the company's policies. The next thing you say is you've got a solutions focused mindset. So if something has gone wrong that is the fault of the hotel, your focus is to fix that problem and ensure that good standards are maintained. And what I recommend you talk about is the herd technique. So when you're dealing with a complaint or you're dealing with something that's gone wrong, you follow the herd technique. This was developed by Disney as a customer service strategy, and they trained their people in this. So herd stands for hear, empathize, apologize, resolve, and then diagnose. You got to be clear that you're going to listen very carefully to the difficult guests. Quite often when guests are being difficult or really angry, it's because they just want someone to listen to them and take their complaint seriously. And once you show that you're actively listening, that really helps. Empathize really helps basically calm down the situation because the guest feels like they're being taken seriously. An apology is sometimes what people are looking for. If they get an apology, then to some extent they're happy with that. Then if something's gone wrong, you want to fix it. And then the diagnose stage is important because you don't want to get the same complaint every single day. It'd be much better to get the complaint once, put something in place, speak to your manager about what went wrong, and feed that back to the organization so that the problem can be solved and the hotel provides even better service because of it. And that really is how you ace this question. Then to move on, the next one I want to talk about is they could ask about your previous work experience. So you could ask something like, what experience do you have? And to be successful in this question, what you really want to do is think about why are they asking this question and what sort of experience are they actually looking for? What's going to make you good at your job? So really, you want to show them that you've got the experience to make you great at your job. So let's think about the best experience and start with that. So the best experience would obviously be that you've worked in a hotel before. If you haven't, then you talk about working in hospitality because that's the closest thing to it. If you've worked in both, talk about the hotel most, talk about the hospitality next. So order it in this order. Then any job that is customer facing or that is very, very similar to the job you're applying for in the hotel, and then talk about your wider experience. So that's the order that you go through it with the best experience at the top, and then the wider experience is what's going to enhance your answer. Then you think about what you need to show. So the first thing you do is give your full job title. Don't give a short job title. Give your actual proper job title because that explains a lot more. Then you talk about your responsibilities. And it doesn't matter what job you had, you were responsible for things. There was parts of that job that you took ownership of and that you were responsible. For example, if you were working in a restaurant waiting tables, you were responsible for interacting with guests, delivering their meals, dealing with complaints. All these are the things that were involved in your role and were really important. You gained a lot of skills from that. Then you talk about any training and development that you got in your previous work. What skills did you pick up? And it doesn't matter what job you've had, you will have learned things and you will develop skills. Especially if they've been customer facing, you develop customer service skills. You got training in it, you got mentoring from your manager or from someone else in the role that you maybe buddied up with. And you got some training on how to do the job effectively. And every time you talk about your previous experience, always link it back to Best Western. So you talk about your experience and you say, at Best Western, I can use this experience to do this. Or I have lots and lots of experience working in customer facing roles. I've got lots of experience dealing with customers and delivering great customer service, which I hope to bring to Best Western to enhance your customer service and provide great service to your guests. That's the sort of thing you do. Everything that you say, link it back to Best Western and show that you're going to use that. Basically, what you're doing is you're showing them that I've got the experience that's going to make me really great at this job and I can do the job that I've applied for effectively. And that's how you ace this question. The next one they could ask about is tell me about a time you delivered excellent customer service. And there is a simple method to go about this. And it is called the STAR technique. You'll notice that the first letter of each of these spells out star. So you start with the situation. When did you provide great customer service experience? Then what was the actual task? What did you need to do? Then what did you actually do in the action? And then what was the result? And you want to pick something that went really well. So I'm going to give you a great example that's adapted from a story that a hotel owner told about the best customer service they'd ever seen. And I'm going to show you how it can be made in this. So you got to think about any time in your career where you delivered great service and then match it up to this. So let's look at an example of how someone might answer this. So the situation is a customer at my hotel lost one of their bags which contained their medicine. So obviously that's a big problem. Then you think, well, what have you got to do about that? So the task is I wanted to prevent their holiday being ruined and wanted to help them get their medicine or an alternative. Then what action did you take? So I was able to arrange for their medicine to be collected from their home by UPS and sent to the hotel with expedited shipping. Then what's the result? Something really good happened. The guests got their medicine the very next morning and they were immensely happy and posted a 5-star review. So you see, that's a really simple way of answering it. So think about the situation. What did you need to do? What did you do to make that happen? And then what was the brilliant, happy thing that happened because of it? That's how you ace the question. There are other tell me about a time questions that could come up, and you always answer them with a STAR technique. So you want to have examples ready of a time where you made a mistake. And so for that one, you want something went wrong, but you were able to fix it and nothing bad happened. Then a situation where you had to prioritize, so you picked the right thing. And then a situation where you went above and beyond, which is something like this. And these are some of the other ones that I've heard them ask. So plan it around the STAR technique, have examples ready, and you'll be prepared for these questions. Then before you finish, here are some of the best questions that you could ask Best Western at the end of your interview, because they'll probably ask, do you have any questions for us? If you say, no, that's not very good, have some questions ready. So one of them you probably do want to ask is, can you tell me what the next steps in the hiring process at this Best Western are, so you can find out when you'll find out if you got the job. Is there any other stages you have to go through? And that could be interesting to know, and it shows that you're really interested in getting the job. The next one you could ask is, what would you say differentiates Best Western from competing hotel brands? And you can share in your enthusiasm. You can say that that's part of the reason why you decided to apply to Best Western, because you think it's better than the competition. You could also ask, can you tell me about the team you've built at the Best Western? Show an interest in your colleagues, find out about who you could be working with. Then you could ask about what training and development opportunities do you offer your staff at this Best Western. That may show some ambition, and it may show that you really are committed to being the best at the job that you can be. You could say, what would you recommend a new hire at Best Western do before starting to be well prepared? And if they say, I would recommend you do this, learn this, read this, you can say in the interview that you will commit to doing those things and make sure you do those to show that you're someone that really cares about doing a good job. And the last thing you do at the end of your interview is make sure that you sincerely thank the interviewers for their time in interviewing you and end on a positive. You should always make sure that you don't ever ask about certain things like moving to another hotel, taking time off, or delaying the start date, because they could cost you the job even if you've done really well. So I hope this video was helpful to you and you're better prepared for your Best Western interview. I hope you get the job. If it was helpful, please like and subscribe below. And finally, thank you very much for watching.